Number 6, special reports and presentations. Kathy.
Thank you, Dr. Rauner. For those who don't know, we have a long-standing LPS product who's a graduate in 1982 of Lincoln Northeast, also my alma mater. And I've known this gentleman for most of my involvement with Lincoln Public Schools. But mostly I remember him when he mentored my daughter, who was a math teacher by trade, and the help he gave her and the advice he gave her, and it's helped her along her career. I think we think things are only finite with math, but what I've discovered about math is the dreamers of the world can add. The dreamers of the world know what infinity is, and the dreamers of the world know that there's always one thing that comes next. So Dr. Rauner, would you please join me at the podium? Or excuse me, Dr. Larson.
No.
Well, I can take Dr. Rauner with me too, and we can both do it. So there you go. And I also did some homework. So Dr. Larson is not only noted for leading LPS's math department for more than 20 years, but he's also the only K-12 math instructor who's ever been the president of the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and he did that from 2016 to 2018. He's also authored or co-authored 9 books, and titillating talent, or titillating titles of those books include Math Instruction, Planning, Instruction, Assessments, Homework and Grading, and Balancing the Equation. But the irony of this, you need all of those things to be a really good educator. And that is what I say most about Dr. Matt Larson. So in the form of a motion, I will read the following proclamation to send my dear friend off into retirement, where I hope he's going to write some more books and give some more presentations and find time to make all of us laugh once more. So, whereas Dr. Larson has, throughout his career, exhibited a commitment to excellence in public education, serving as an inspiration to educators and administrators alike. And whereas Dr. Larson worked with others to establish the first set of curricular objectives, common assessments, grading practices, and professional learning community work in the curricular area. And whereas Dr. Larson, in his dedication and outstanding contributions, led a team of instructional directors to quickly and successfully develop and implement virtual, hybrid, and in-person instruction during a historic pandemic at a time when many schools across this nation were shut down for over a year. And whereas Dr. Larson collaborated with a team of instructional leaders to thoroughly develop district-wide procedures and practices to address the identified concerns of increased student behavior, and whereas Dr. Larson has garnered the respect of colleagues in Lincoln, the state of Nebraska, and across the United States, exhibiting his expertise in mathematics education through co-authoring books and journals and speaking engagements. Now therefore be it resolved that the Lincoln Board of Education does hereby congratulate Lincoln Public Schools Associate Superintendent for Educational Services, Dr. Matt Larson, on a long and distinguished career, and professes sincere gratitude to him for his years of service to the staff, students, families, and the community of Lincoln. Signed by Dr. Bob Rauner, our board president, and Dr. Paul Gossman, superintendent of schools. Thank you, Dr. Larson.
Of course, I have the advantage over John in that I now knew this was going to happen. So, yes, I have remarks prepared, so buckle up. All right, no, I want to thank the board. I really do for this recognition. As Dr. Neal indicated 2 weeks ago tonight, you are a very unique board. There is no question about that. But one of your unique strengths is that each and every one of you is a passionate advocate for public education, and more importantly, each and every student. And our community is a better place because of your service. I've always appreciated your support, and that goes for some former board members as well, notably Doug Evans, Ed Zimmer, Marion Price, and of course Connie Duncan. So I thank all of them in addition to you for your support. I also want to thank all the instructional directors, both past and present. Most of them are on vacation, which was a smart move, but a few are here tonight. And the reality is that much of the work that ensures that your vision gets done and accomplished is done by and through them. We owe them a great debt of gratitude. They prevent this coherent school district from devolving into a loose federation of 70 sites, and much of their work simply goes unseen. But it's greatly appreciated, and I thank them for all they do. Another group that needs to be thanked would be Ashley Perez, Laura Maxwell, April Douglas, Michaela Gray. They are the executive assistants to the superintendent and the associate superintendents, and they make us all look vastly more competent and prepared than we are most of the time. And so again, it's another group of unsung heroes. And I want to thank some of the leaders I had the opportunity over time to work with who mentored me. And this is not, an exhaustive list, but I certainly want to thank Dr. Sco. He used to be superintendent. I'm like old, and so some of you will remember him. Dr. Sco, Dr. Moore, Dr. Joel. I had two great directors of curriculum in Dr. Jacobson and Dr. Miller, and I thank all of them for their mentorship. Now, over the last couple of years, I've had an opportunity to work with another group of leaders, and I really appreciate and respect them, and that group includes Dr. Price, Dr. Olson, Dr. Salem. Learned a lot from them, but there are two people I want to kind of single out because it feels like the three of us, so another two people and myself, while we had the support of dozens of people, we essentially navigated uncharted waters through the pandemic. And the water was a little rough, and we took on some water at times, but we got through it, and that would be Dr. Standish and Mindy Burbach. Great people. Okay, finally, and this is a big one, I need to thank my wife, Tammy. She's at home watching like she always does, and some of you probably think I say everything that I think, and the reality is I don't. There is a lot of stuff, believe it or not, that I do not say. But here's the deal. I save the really good stuff for when I get home and I share it with her. And so for nearly 40 years, she has had to absorb all of that when I get home from, a typical day. And so I do appreciate her support as well. So with that, it's been a privilege to serve the students, the staff, and the parents of the Lincoln Public Schools, and I thank you.
Yes. Do I have a second? Lanny.
Second.
Do we have some comments? I'm guessing yes. Lanny.
Thank you, President Rauner. I first met Dr. Larson about 25 years ago when he was the curriculum specialist for math. I was a parent volunteer on the LPS Community Curriculum Council. As a fellow math nerd, I watched his presentations very closely. It was immediately obvious that he was highly intelligent, a clear communicator, and that he was dedicated to the mission of educating kids to the best of our ability. Those qualities in him have only grown over time. I learned a lot from Dr. Larson over the next decade or so that I served on that council, and I continued to learn from him as a school board member. Flash forward to 4 years ago. Dr. Larson is now the Associate Superintendent for Instruction, and I begin a 3-year run as chair of our Student Learning and Technology Committee. This results in us having frequent conversations, often daily, especially with the pandemic. Those same qualities I had noticed years earlier were still apparent, and now I could add new ones to the list, steady leadership, thoughtful innovation, and unwavering compassion for our students and staff. Matt, it has been an incredible honor to know you, and to work with you, and to learn from you. Thank you for your decades of service to public education and Lincoln's children.
Any others? Okay. Annie?
Lanny has phrased it really, really well. I just want to say that when I asked you what your kind of favorite memory, what you were so most proud of doing, and it was getting us through the pandemic. And I told you then, and I will tell you again now, that cannot thank you and all that worked on it, but I'll never forget coming into my first meeting. We were a little shell-shocked, and you guys put out this 142-page plan, and it was like, when did you guys sleep in the last little bit of time? And the other thing is, like, knowing that you have always had our back to make sure that we may be as passionate as we can be, but that we don't go crazy. And that, truly there have been ideas that you can just tell by Matt, looks on Matt's face, it's like, yeah, I'll back down on that one, maybe for just a minute or so. But it's been a pleasure to have you, know that I'm on the same team as you and have our backs, and I will miss that greatly. So thank you for all that you have given to helping a person from the community come in and understand how the heck to do the math here. So thank you.
Don?
Matt, I know that the decision to retire could have come several years ago, and I also wanted to call out what a gift, especially these last few years have been as we navigated a pandemic, superintendent transition, having your steady hand at the tiller. I would also note just how incredible it was that we had this 100-year event, and basically over spring break, you and your staff completely created 100% remote learning, which is just an incredible, incredible achievement. Again, appreciating your steady hand, your leadership, but also noting that your intelligence, your technical knowledge, your passion, and your compassion have just all been gifts to our district. And I know that there are so many things we can point to at LPS that we do well and say we do that because of Dr. Larson. Thank you so much for your service to our kids.
Piyush?
So I'll talk about my experience from before I was on the board to kind of support what has been already said. During the pandemic, I was looking at it from my daughter's perspective, how smoothly things went when things were in chaos nationwide. And I know that my daughter did not experience much or any learning loss. So thank you for everything you did. And then once I got on this board, I was told, if you ever have any questions, just email Dr. Matt Larson. So that's exactly what I've been doing. Anytime I had a question, I would email Dr. Larson. It didn't matter what time of the day it was. Within a few minutes, I would have a reply from him with the answer, or say, okay, that one is for Sarah. Okay, Sarah, you go for it. Or this one, I'll copy X, Y, Z. And you were always great at educating me, and you always got to the heart of the question and gave a very, very, very succinct answer to the question that I had. So I'm going to miss working with you, and thank you very much for everything you've done for me personally, and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
Barb?
Well, everybody said exactly what should be said. I just want to say that we're really lucky to have a national math rock star here going and leading not just our math instruction, but being one of those critical players in leading this district. You make us, all of us up here, look really good. And if we don't have you, well, I know that your replacements will do well. It's going to be hard. I'm sorry. It's going to be hard. Thank you for your service. Thank you for getting us through not just the pandemic, but I can just think of all sorts of crazy little crises that I've called and other people have called, and you're always coming up with solutions. So thank you.
Kathy?
So I'm just going to end this with a term of endearment, and this is really for your wife, from someone who has a husband who has to listen to me when I come home from any kind of meeting and scream and holler. But Tammy, we really appreciate you sharing Matt with us, because that gift of your family being support is very, very, very important to making your job successful. So I wish you both to take some time, enjoy some mountains maybe. I hear that you have a passion for mountains. And mostly, don't forget and come back and tell us some humorous stories again. We will miss you. Thank you.
Well, the only other thing I'd add is, being one of the analytical guys, I appreciated having a math guy in the room. The thing that stands out the most to me, though, I would say with the COVID pandemic, we were in uncharted territory with conflicting guidance coming from everywhere. We spent a lot of time in meetings. And the thing that really stood out to me was how you and Liz were really good about disagreeing constructively. And what came out of that was a much better plan. And not a lot of people are good at that. And you two especially were really good at that. And I think there's a lot of time in meetings where what came out, I would argue our approach was some of the best in the country. And I think you guys deserve a lot of credit for that. So thanks. And April, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Boswell?
Yes.
Mrs. Danick?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Ms. Mumgarden?
Yes.
Mr. Shavastov?
Yes.
Dr. Rauner?
Yes.